Good morning. I hope you're well. Purple Sky here. I'm coming to you this morning while being vulnerable. Although the subject matter is not about my vulnerability this morning, I feel to share a little of why or how. Not necessarily how, but well, yeah, I can share how. Just don't want to be too thorough about it. Being vulnerable is not always comfortable, especially after having years and years of conditioning my vulnerability. Now I'm just letting it flow. And I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think this is a part of healing. Yeah, it is. Because being vulnerable is a natural trait. I still believe that. I appreciate the friends that I have. I was vulnerable the entire weekend. And yesterday it all just came front and center where I just collectively summarize my vulnerability. But I didn't do it alone. You know, I spoke with Black Beauty. Um, I spoke with Air. And I spoke to my friend who I refer to as Rosebud. And what I liked about speaking with her was that she connects the dots as well. However, with her, she made additions to the dots that I already connected. And it just blew my mind where I am taking apart our conversation piece by piece. But she's right. She was so right. And I appreciate her for that. So, yes, I'm coming to you while being vulnerable. Now let's get into it. I had this question for a long time. Why did we, or when did we stop listening to each other? I'm speaking from experience where even, I want to say today, well, no, yeah, even today, there are incidences where I would say one thing and a person would say something totally opposite of what I said, not necessarily to add to what I said, but to interpret what I said incorrectly. And that's why I appreciate my conversation with Rosebud on during this weekend, because she had an understanding. I was able to clarify what I actually meant and where I was actually coming from, and she was able to understand what I meant. And Rosebud and I, we don't agree with everything, but that's what I like. I feel that we came to a point where there's just those one shot answers. So we just stop listening. Or the idea that we're adults, we know everything, we understand everything. So listening, you say 2-3 words, I already figure out where you're going next. You know what, you shouldn't be going. We don't speak in full sentences. And I think that's what stopped my speaking in full sentences, where I would argue with Diamond in the Rough, where I said, oh my gosh, I have to speak in full sentences to you. And he doesn't have it any other way. He wouldn't have it any other way. And I appreciate him for that. Because, yeah, we should be speaking in full sentences. I'm just so used to getting cut off so often that speaking in full sentences seems so taboo. And don't get me wrong, Diamond in the Rough do cut me off, but he has this thing that where if there's a certain point that I'm trying to make to a story that I'm sharing with him, but if I say something that grabs his attention, it's like, you know what, forget that. Because you said that, I don't care to get into it. And then I'll ask him why, and he'll explain to me. And yeah, I just feel that listening has become so taboo. Thoroughly listening. And my example that I want to bring up is a conversation that I had with someone who voted for Trump. Now, I told him that I was disappointed. And they explained themselves. I didn't see much as a good reason to vote for him, but they explained themselves and then added that they're not into politics. And in my mind, if you're not into politics, you shouldn't be voting. We need to know the people that we're voting for to the best of our ability, because we're not going to know them thoroughly. Let's be honest here. And I remember too that I think I was reading at the time, or I may have finished Dick Gregory's book, Reading Between the Lies, which is just a book full of incidences that he experienced in his livelihood, where it comes to the civil rights movement to his relationship with Michael Jackson. When he talked about Donald Trump, he said that the reason why, and I understood it, it makes sense, but he said the reason why people voted for him was because they were scared. I think that's why we stopped listening. I know that at one point I stopped listening because I hate that people were trying to change who I was or trying to define me in a way that I wasn't. I know I stopped listening because people were being so negative. It was like no one was looking at the bright side of anything, so I stopped listening. I know now when I do stop listening, when my mind wanders, if a person is a little too excited for me, or if a person has a high voice that I can't follow, or if a person is being repetitive without getting to the point. With the latter that I mentioned, I found a way to deal with that where I want the speaker to know that I'm listening to them. So I'll ask them a question. When they answer the question, then we could develop an idea of how I can connect to what they're saying in a way that would be more receptive to that person. I have a friend that I will refer to as Coffee. And we text a lot, mostly rather. And I could tell that she doesn't fully read my text messages. And this is something that I shared with her. Like, I know you don't fully read them. But even that, we're working on our friendship. Where I tell her, I tell her what I want to do. Then she'll give me advice, whether it's the same or different. Like, I wasn't asking for your advice. So I have to be straight to the point with her. That's her language. And then I have a friend that I refer to as iced coffee. And this is not the first time this happened, but we talk, we converse, and she does the same thing. She'll just give solutions. I'm not asking for solutions. I'm just venting. I casually mention my dislike for those that don't listen, that they always think that, I'm asking for advice when I'm just talking. And what amazed me was the look on her face. She didn't look me in the eye, but she kind of scrunched her eyes. And that's when I pulled back, just for like 1.5 seconds, because I said, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think I was connecting our relationship that way, because that is what she did. And how she handled that. Well, first off, I didn't back down. I said, I said what I said. To myself, I said what I said. There's no need for me to back down. After that, our relationship got better. Where she actually talks to me now, and she listens to me vent, and she doesn't give advice. And listening to me is a love language, just a genuine love language. I want to listen to you. I want to understand you. That's what listening means to me. So I try to listen often. I do. And it's a work in progress. Just because I'm vulnerable, I want to add. I don't want you to think that I'm not happy. I am. I'm still happy. I'm still on the same high I get when I take my yearly constitution. It's never lasted this long. It's been well over 3 weeks. Taking a constitution is when I listen the most to nature, to my natural being, to my heartbeat. I believe we need that. We need to hear ourselves again. We need to listen to ourselves, understand our anger, and heal from it. You know the routine. I can't ask you to do any of that stuff. That's entirely up to you. But I can always say, I love you. Stay safe.